Have you ever looked at your life and wondered how everyone else seems to be moving forward financially while you feel like you're stuck in the same place? Have you ever opened social media, scrolled for 5 minutes, and suddenly felt like you're behind, late, or failing at money, even though you're working, trying, and showing up every day? And have you ever noticed how easy it is to start doubting yourself after watching people online claim they figured everything out, cracked the code, and escaped the struggle? If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone and you're not broken. Welcome to PrecisionNet, a channel where we slow things down and talk honestly about money, progress, and reality without the noise, the hype, or the pressure to pretend. Before we go any further, I want you to engage with this video in the comments. What is the biggest money message you see repeated on social media every day? And has social media ever made you feel like you should be doing better financially than you actually are right now? The biggest money lie social media is selling you isn't always shouted loudly. It doesn't always come as bad advice or obvious scams. Most of the time, it comes quietly through comparison, timelines, and expectations that don't reflect real life. The lie is this idea that if you're not already making a lot of money, then you're doing something wrong. That if you're not earning thousands of dollars a month, running a business, trading, investing aggressively, or living some version of a luxury lifestyle, then you've fallen behind. This lie sinks in slowly. You don't wake up believing it overnight. It builds every time you see income screenshots without context, every time someone casually mentions making $10,000 in a week, every time a video implies that financial success is simple if you're just serious enough. And if you're watching all of this while living a normal life, paying bills, managing responsibilities, and trying to improve little by little, it can quietly erode your confidence. What social media rarely shows is the full picture. It doesn't show the years of trial and error behind the success stories. It doesn't show the failed businesses, the blown accounts, the months of doubt, or the emotional toll of uncertainty. It doesn't show the support systems some people had, the timing advantages, or the fact that luck plays a role whether people admit it or not. Instead, it compresses everything into a highlight reel that makes progress look fast, clean, and guaranteed. Over time, this creates an unrealistic sense of urgency. You start feeling like you're racing against an invisible clock. Like if you don't make it by a certain age, then your window closes. But real life doesn't operate on viral timelines. Money doesn't care how old you are. It cares how consistent you are, how patient you are, and how well you manage yourself when things don't go as planned. Another part of the lie is the idea that struggle is optional. Online, struggle is either hidden or romanticized after the fact. People talk about how hard it was only once they're comfortable, removed from the pressure. But when you're actually in the struggle, it doesn't feel inspirational. It feels confusing. It feels lonely. It feels like effort without feedback. And when you don't see that version of struggle reflected online, you start assuming something is uniquely wrong with you. The truth is, confusion is normal. Plateaus are normal. Slow progress is normal. Most people don't move forward in straight lines financially. They move in loops, pauses, and small steps that don't look impressive but add up over time. The problem is that social media teaches people to mistake speed for success and visibility for progress. There's also an oversimplification of money advice that does real damage. Complex outcomes get reduced to catchy phrases like just invest early, just start a business, or just learn a high-income skill. These statements sound helpful, but they ignore context. They ignore risk tolerance, starting capital, emotional readiness, and life circumstances. What works well for one person can backfire badly for another. But social media presents advice as if it's universally applicable. This is why so many people end up jumping from strategy to strategy. 1 month it's trading, the next it's drop shipping, then it's crypto, then it's freelancing, then it's something else entirely. Not because they're lazy or undisciplined, but because they've been conditioned to believe that if results don't come quickly, then something must be wrong. Patience starts feeling like failure, and consistency starts feeling like settling. What's rarely talked about is emotional discipline. Money decisions are deeply emotional. even when we pretend they're not. Fear, greed, impatience, and comparison drive more financial mistakes than lack of knowledge ever will. You can consume endless information, but if you haven't learned how to manage your emotions, that information can actually hurt you. Two people can follow the same advice and end up in completely different places. One grows steadily, the other burns out or gives up. The difference usually isn't intelligence. It's temperament. It's the ability to stay grounded when things are boring, slow, or uncomfortable. Social media also creates pressure to perform success instead of building stability. Looking successful becomes more important than being financially secure. People prioritize appearances over foundations, flexing over saving, and noise over quiet progress. But real financial stability is often boring. It's budgeting. It's saying no. It's choosing consistency over excitement. And boring doesn't trend. There's a hidden cost to constantly comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. It steals contentment. It makes you feel like rest is laziness and satisfaction is weakness. You start believing that if you're not always chasing more, you're falling behind. But money was never meant to consume every waking thought. When it does, it stops being a tool and becomes a source of anxiety. Another uncomfortable truth is that timing matters more than people admit. Someone starting a business during a favorable market will have a very different experience than someone starting during a downturn. Someone who takes risks with a safety net will experience risk differently than someone without one. Social media flattens these differences, making success look purely merit-based, when reality is more nuanced. This doesn't mean effort doesn't matter. It absolutely does. But effort alone doesn't guarantee instant results. And when people believe that it should, they start blaming themselves unfairly when progress is slow. That self-blame can lead to reckless decisions, over-trading, overspending, or quitting too early. One of the healthiest shifts you can make is redefining what progress looks like. Progress isn't always more money. Sometimes it's fewer mistakes. Sometimes it's better habits. Sometimes it's learning what doesn't work and having the discipline not to repeat it. These things don't make for viral content, but they matter more in the long run. There's also a misconception that everyone who looks rich online actually is. Many people are leveraged, stressed, and one bad month away from collapse. Others exaggerate results to sell courses, mentorships, or lifestyles. And some are simply lucky at a moment in time. None of these realities are usually disclosed. When you internalize all of this, something shifts. You stop chasing every trend. You stop measuring your worth against strangers. You start focusing on what makes sense for your life, your income, and your stage. You become less reactive and more intentional. Money is not a race. It's a long-term relationship with yourself. The goal isn't to look rich quickly. It's to build something sustainable that supports your life instead of controlling it. That takes time, patience, and emotional maturity. If social media has made you feel behind, remember this. You're only behind a narrative that was never real to begin with. Real progress is quiet. Real growth is uneven. And real stability often comes slower than the internet wants you to believe. This channel exists to remind you of that, to bring perspective back into conversations about money, to help you think clearly instead of react emotionally, and to encourage you to build at your own pace without shame. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Share your experience. You're not the only one feeling this way, even if it feels like it sometimes. And if you want more honest conversations about money, mindset, and long-term thinking, consider subscribing to PrecisionNet. We're here to cut through the noise and focus on what actually matters.